guys, Zizaran here with another build guide, and this is yet another collab with PoHX'S, the Lord of Righteous Fire, and he has been playing a lot of Righteous Fire in 3.17, so anything that wasn't perfect in the last patch is going to be perfect for this one, and there's a little bit of an extra huge thing that we'll show later in the guide. This is incredibly strong as a league starter, and I played this in 3.17, absolute powerhouse. Insane tank, insane damage, and very, very fun. Very, very good choice for a league starter. Obviously, does not come online as fast and can be slightly trickier for solo self-found, but still. So as for some downsides to the build, a lot of the damage comes behind having Ashes of the Stars. That might be kind of rare this patch, so that is definitely something to consider. Another downside is that Maven is definitely not the easiest fight on this build, so keep that in mind. Other than that, amazing build. So as normal, we're using Path of Building, a third-party program, and we have a YouTube video on how to download it, install it, etc., and a link to that in the description. So make sure that you have Path of Building. And as you can see here, PoHX'S has made a step-by-step leveling process so that you don't get lost while leveling, and it's very, very easy to follow, as well as an endgame tree both with or without cluster setups. So you have loads of things to hold your hand the entire step of the way if you're a new player. Ascendancies as well are included in this. The Pantheon is Arakali and Relikesh, and the Bandit, you kill them all. You want that skill point. Next up, we have the skills, and here you can see the leveling process is pretty straightforward. And PoHX'S, tell us a little bit about how to play this build.
So here's an example of us just transitioning to Righteous Fire after our cool lab. So we're running with a 4-link Righteous Fire. You can see the links in the POB under the skills section. One thing I do want to note though, you want to make sure you're keeping up your pious path up at the top left there. You can see it, it's that 4. To do this, I simply recommend walking with your mobility skill. If you want to do a little bit more damage, if you saw me clear there, you can also try using your Frostblink offensively. That essentially allows you to apply a curse on hit on the target and drop your consecrated ground just like this. And then don't forget to also throw your fire traps. So an example of how tanky you can expect to be, this character has almost no gear essentially. You know, we have just now ascended, and it's very, very, very smooth for newer players trying to progress.
So here for the gear, you can see it is pretty simple to start carrying. Early on, you need pretty much nothing, obviously. And then as you go later, there is life and resist, and early on life regen. And loads of easy to like follow what you need here. Like there's, as you can see, early on, nothing really crazy. And then here we have Endgame for the start. Legacy of the Fury, Ashes of the Stars, definitely making the build slightly harder to do depending on Ashes of the Stars. Maybe it is very rare to get Ashes on solo self-found, and we'll find that out during the league. Now PoHX'S has also put in loads of notes to make it easier to follow, but PoHX'S has really gone the extra step of the way, and he has made basically a Righteous Fire Wikipedia. Mind blown. PoHX'S, walk me through what we're seeing here.
Right, so essentially we've got a little bit over 100 questions. Majority of them are kind of directed towards newer players, problems you would encounter. Basically, you're just going to search your question, click it, find your answer down below. Also, if you scroll down a little bit, we've got a specific handcrafted guide of basically how to craft your items. On occasion, it will get flooded, so when you click, it will just refresh.
Right.
In that situation, you can search the number instead.
Right, awesome. Yeah, that just happened to me. Excellent. And then this is how to craft all the gear for Righteous Fire?
Yep, and it goes from scepter, body armor, you can scroll down. Most of them are cheaper methods. The weapon is a little bit more expensive, but it is deterministic and can carry you from you're done. You craft that weapon for 2.5 exalt, it's good for the whole game.
So make sure you use that, especially if you're a new player. Check out the wiki, and like if you don't find like the regular guide is enough, you have such an extensive resource at your fingertips here. And now at the end, we are going to do the Q&A of things to solve for every build guide, and PoHX'S is joining me for this. So PoHX'S, are there too many gems to equip in this?
So for the leveling sake, we have simplified it, and the socket pressure is not really that bad at all. Once you're doing your transition at around 55, socket pressure gets a little tight, but it's still not really that bad. Towards your end game, you'll have about 1 to 2 flexible gems, but when you're at that point, sockets and colors are not an issue.
What about mana issues? How do you solve that?
Life tap. Everything is life tap. You don't really have to worry about anything. The leveling phase is life tap. High level setup is life tap. Not a problem.
So PoHX'S, what about the useful leveling uniques?
So for useful leveling uniques, there's actually a section in PoB for twink leveling, so you can see all of the uniques you would want in the early game.
What about quality of life and defense options? Like, how do we sustain in a fight?
So Righteous Fire, since we played as Inquisitor, we have a massive amount of overabundance of life regen and energy shield regen. You should be regenerating around 20 to 30% of your maximum life per second while having an emergency button like Enduring Cry. You're going to have 30 to 50,000 plus defense. You should easily have 80 plus all res, maybe 79, but that can be pushed much higher. Furthermore, Inquisitor reduces elemental damage, so you're in a pretty good spot.
What would you say are the biggest mechanical drawbacks of this build?
I would say one of the biggest mechanical drawbacks is feeling comfortable of being close to a boss. A lot of the time, players don't really understand how to navigate around a boss. Thankfully, we have Frostblink for that, which always has a constant chill on targets and gives us an instant way to dodge, but it can be very intimidating going melee.
What do you suspect the biggest financial hurdles are going to be for this build?
Biggest financial hurdles would probably be trying to convert yourself to Aegis Aurora Melding of the Flesh, which is an endgame setup, or trying to go after a chase item like, say, the Replica Soul Tether. Some players can essentially get very unlucky with trying to helmet craft, costing them maybe 20 plus Essence of Horror. So here's an example of how to level with your Wintertide brand. Simply, you're going to put down 3 Wintertide brands and then drop a Frost Bomb per single target. Up at the top left, you'll notice that there's a few bubbles. If the bubbles are filled in, it means the brands are actively on a target. If the bubbles are not filled in, it just means that they're not attached to a target. Remember, you can also use brand recall to pull your brands to you if you want to play a little bit faster.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video collab with PoHX'S. Make sure you check him out on his YouTube. He's going to be posting updates. He's also going to be playing this build himself. And he's going to be posting a new RF video later on using Aegis Aurora for a really, really strong endgame version, even stronger than this. So make sure you check that out. And thank you again to PoHX'S for joining me for this. Hugely appreciated, and everything you add to the community. Sub if you guys liked the video. And thank you so much for watching. But more importantly, try to die less than I do.